Live from the New Life Center studios in Coconut Creek, Florida, and Phoenix, Arizona, it's Nothing Worthwhile, giving you the latest news in pop culture, sports, entertainment, and professional wrestling. You know, all the crap you don't care about. Here's Evan Moody and Andrew Gruthius.
After these messages.
You guys suck!
Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snows, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose.
Billy Joel, I don't even know how to do this in an interview. He's Billy Joel.
Thank you for the music you've made that's been a part of our lives for so many years. In fact, my entire life.
Yeah, I'm self-correcting all the time. It's like when I'm saying, sing us a song, you're the piano man, I'm thinking, that should have been play us a song. I've had this for years and years and years and years, and always told myself, I'm going to do something with this. Something's going to happen with this. This is a really nice piece of music.
And no one's ever heard that?
I don't think so.
Wow.
The greatest hope against the threat of nuclear war is Superman.
I'm going to do what our governments have been unwilling or unable to do. Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
The greatest threat to Superman is Lex Luthor.
Smarter than I thought. We can make the world safe for war profits.
He's created the ultimate weapon to annihilate the Man of Steel.
You'd risk worldwide nuclear war for your own personal financial gain.
Nobody wants war. I just want to keep the threat alive.
Dude of Steel. Where are you gonna get it?
You know you're a workaholic. Why don't you stop and smell the roses, huh?
Superman 4, Christopher Reeve, Gene Hackman, Jackie Cooper, John Cryer, with Mariel Hemingway and Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. Superman 4, his most important adventure, the quest for peace.
Jacqueline Jewett. Julie Jerkoff. Forgive me, Kirkhoff.
Kill Whitey!
gonna save the AC/DC stuff for next week.
Oh, the AC/DC stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna save that for
this
next
is
week.
Beautiful. Oh, we're on.
Am I on?
This is beautiful.
Yeah, but Andy asked me, is there some significance as to why we're playing David Byrne, I Want to Dance with Somebody? So we had talked about previous, you had never heard, I had mentioned that David Byrne had covered Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody live. And you were like, oh, that's interesting. Like, and you talked about how Byrne is an interesting fella and you're, somewhat of a fan of the Talking Heads. And so I thought I'd pop it in there. I didn't know if you got a chance to listen to it.
I love it. This is the first time I'm hearing it. As it's being introduced, I try to keep myself in the dark with all the things. No, I'm serious. With a lot of the stuff that you send me to put, Evan sends me stuff that that we talk about putting on the opening clips, and sometimes he sends me stuff that I'm not aware of, and I purposely don't listen to it. I just put it in so that I can hear it for the first time organically on the air, and this is interesting to me. I mean, it's a classic song to begin with, but...
Yeah, I think I heard it on Sirius one time on one of the channels, and Marie is a big fan of Whitney Houston, and I played it for her, and she liked it. And I just thought it was, for a guy like him, a pretty fascinating choice, because he's always been sort of out of the mainstream, yet in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, Talking Heads were hugely popular, and for him to select a song like this, which is kind of pop, I would say vanilla pop from the 80s, hugely successful, Whitney Houston. I mean, I just thought it was a curious choice, but one that worked. I don't know.
Yeah, but in listening to this, I can feel the Byrne vibe in there, and he sort of turns it into, I know it's cliche to say it now, but it's like a yacht rock version of the song. I like it. David Byrne, that guy's something else, man. He's something else.
I think it's 40 years since Stop Making Sense was released. 40 years. We are getting old. Welcome, everyone, to Nothing Worthwhile, episode number 133. Damn. On today's show, we check out Canon Films in all of its glory as we discuss and debate the wonderful mess that is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. I am Evan Moody. I'm coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. Across the screen is my best friend, the best man, Andrew Guthius, coming to us live from Coconut Creek, Florida. Andrew, how are you on this, at least Arizona, chilly Saturday morning?
It's a little chilly here, but only because it's been raining all morning. I was actually, a new thing for me, Saturdays I'm usually just waking up around now. But no, I was out early this morning. We had my nephew's soccer game, and it hasn't rained here in a while, and it was just on and off, like hard and soft, and so it was soaking wet and cold outside, kind of windy, and it's been a cold week, but that's what makes weekends so glorious. And everything is great here. It's nice to get a little, it's almost like, it's funny, having all these people coming down for the vacation, and it's like the weather sucks when it gets here. It's like, sucks for you. That's right. You want to make me sit in 3 times the amount of traffic to get to work? Fine. Well, here you go. There's the trade-off. But yeah, everything is fine here. Everything is going well.
Do you see a noticeable difference in traffic?
Oh, my
when you're in the stores and stuff?
Not in stores, I wouldn't say.
But all right,
but on the roads, it's just like every time I get in the car, it feels like there is some kind of force that does not want me to get to where I'm going. Like every turn, every way is the wrong way. It's a product of the winter in Florida. The population probably goes up by 40%, maybe more than that. So
wow, that's
it makes sense.
I mean, clearly that's why I hate French Canadians.
Well, hey, that's very valid. Listen, we got to be able to do the things that we got to be able to do. And when there are people and things that are getting in that way, we have to do something about it.
Right. I mean, I have no interest, but if I actually have to do something, please don't delay me.
Yes, exactly. The one time a week I got to get up and go somewhere. Now you're getting in my way. Come on.
Yeah. Now you're going to slow me down.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew. As you mentioned, it's been a couple of weeks since we've had our podcast. We were special guests on the Retromade podcast with Katie G. I would try to pronounce Katie's last name, but it's a long one, and I don't want to mess it up. We did the movie Used Cars. We did have some audio difficulties. Beyond that, any thoughts on our guest appearance on the Retromade podcast? Anything to wrap it up?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
So did I.
I enjoyed the different format. You know, it's always interesting to go into another someone else's house and find the way they do things. And I like the way, I enjoyed the surprises. I really enjoyed how I like how Katie, frames everything around the year of the movie. So like what's going on in the news, what's going on TV, stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that part of it. And it was a really fun experience reliving that movie and talking about it. So yeah, it was a very enjoyable experience. To be fair, I did not listen to the. I usually don't. I don't even listen to our own. I just don't like listening to myself. I really don't. So I didn't really listen to it, but I did hear that there were some audio issues. But I had a really nice time, and I hope we can do it again.
Wait, you don't listen to ours at all? Like, how would we ever improve if you don't even just listen to it once in a while? Just to, like, I listen to it sometimes not fully through, but I listen to it and I go, okay, the next time we podcast, let's make sure we do this to tighten it up or something like that.
You just gave me your answer. That's what I have you for.
Okay. Now
the
funny thing is,
it's like we talked about. It's you know what, for the same reason, and maybe I should, because you make a good point. Like to listen, to see where we could improve. But to me, it's the same thing as listening to, like I listened to Busted Open this morning. I'm not going to listen to it again. There's no reason to. I've already heard it. I've already listened to it. There's nothing, so I feel the same way about this. It's like, I know what I said. I know what we said. And I do it for the enjoyment, but you're right. I should you make a very valid point. And
listen, why did I see this morning? I put my TV on. I put on YouTube to your YouTube feed because I was working out and I wanted to watch a workout motivation video. Why do I see Denise Salcedo, the worst broadcaster on Busted Open? Why is her video in on your queue? I
know exactly why, because I
did it come up as an algorithm?
Well, I subscribe to the Busted Open YouTube channel. So anything that Busted Open puts up there is going to show up on the feed. That being said, you're right. I agree with you about Denise Salcedo, but there might have been something in there that I wanted to hear about. Because actually, not to get off on a rant about Busted Open, but one thing that pisses me off is that it's almost like waking up and putting on Howard and realizing he's not live when, back in the day. With me, when it's not like Bully Ray and like LaGreca, I'm like, I don't want to, I'm disappointed. So, she's just not that great of a broadcaster. So, So I agree with you.
I definitely agree. I think Bully Ray has definitely moved himself from the other guest hosts. All right. The one thing I did want to say was I was thinking about it. I was like, with the Retromade podcast, first of all, I do agree with you. My favorite parts were not even the movie Used Cars, but when she talked about the top films of the year, the top television shows, the top music, like that kind of brought me back. And clearly she has a passion for nostalgia. And so we're about 99% sure she's going to join us for our next episode of Dammit. And we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But I was glad to go on there. She definitely has a passion for nostalgia, and you could hear it in her production and everything.
And even though we're not really about nostalgia here, we're about looking towards the future. We don't really look at the past. But it was nice to step. Sorry, I almost got through it.
Let's go. Well, actually, the thing was, I was like, should we sue Artie Rip, who was I think the producer on the first Billy Joel album? Because if you listen to it, you sound sped up. You sound almost like a little Alvin and the Chipmunkish. You're like, hey, everybody,
Me?
I'm Andy Griffith. Yeah.
On what?
You got to listen to it.
On the Retromade?
Yeah.
I will listen
Your mic cut in and cut out quite a bit. I'm not saying it was on your end or her platform. I don't know. I'm not a tech guy. But like a lot of times you say something, and I'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, what the fuck did Andy say? But I'm just going to agree. I'm just going to agree.
All right, I'll take a listen. I'll listen to it.
Hopefully we didn't doom this podcast to a technical difficulty track.
I don't think so. I think we usually, I'm hearing you fine.
You mentioned something present and something in the past, so I just have a quick notes. Survivor Series Wargames came and went. I think we did our predictions. I think I nailed almost all of them except one, which we could talk about briefly. But overall, Andy, what did you think of the show, Survivor Series War Games? What did you think?
I enjoyed the show, but I do agree with a lot of the sentiments out there. There's something missing from it, and I think it calls to something that you said. I think that the Survivor Series idea has been kind of lost, and then like the War Games match becomes the centerpiece, but it's such a confusing. I'm not a huge fan of the War Games match because it's not linear. Let's put it that way. So so that being the centerpiece to me gave the show a little bit of an underwhelming feel. That being said, match by match, I enjoyed each match. So
specifically to the War Games format, the problem I have is it is kind of it is exciting in the sense like the Royal Rumble where you have a participant come in, but the match doesn't start officially until all 10 guys are in there in a big schmaz.
Right.
So they're fighting and there's really no stakes to it, and it makes for a really long match. You know, some of the interplay in the matches were really cool and fantastic. I think the other thing that may have weighed it down a little bit is there was no big surprise. There was no big reveal. There was no big sort of schma, and I think the WWE fans, which to WWE's credit, their PLEs have been so strong that once you get a straightforward show that just keeps the storyline going and there's no real big surprise, it kind of, you're like a little bit disappointed. And I think that's maybe a good thing because the WWE, you've really heightened your expectations. Andy, every PLE now almost has like WrestleMania type. They've really elevated every show to maybe not presentation wise, but anticipation. There's no, like back when Vince ran the deal, the summers were slow. They were like almost like an off season. You didn't care about, some of these fall pay-per-views. Under Triple H, I mean, I don't know if they mean something, but the expectations are pretty high for a good, solid show.
Yeah, well, he's certainly taken that idea and applied it to the Saudi shows, which basically used to be just, let's make them happy, and it wasn't really canon, but now it is, and they're just as big as everyone else. So I think as fans, we've been conditioned now to expect surprises and oh my God moments, and that's on us. And so, yeah, there was and the whole thing was centered around the bloodline. So, of course, everyone's expecting The Rock or something having to do with The Rock to show up and throw some kind of gauntlet into the middle of this to propel the story forward, I guess, towards Royal Rumble, which then goes to WrestleMania. That didn't happen. So everyone's like, what? But it was still a great match. But when you're watching the match, anticipating something that doesn't come, you kind of take yourself out of it. And I think we might have learned a lesson about that. Follow the story, but don't listen to every, because that's where all that came from. All the podcasts, everyone's saying, oh, he's got to do something. There's got to be something. No, nothing from the WWE itself indicating that there was going to be any kind of, whatever. So it all comes from the stuff that we create. And, in that way, we could be our own worst enemy. So I don't fault the WWE for that. If you look at it match by match, like I said, it was a strong pay-per-view. But one other element, the crowd was not very, it didn't seem very hot, and that makes a difference to audiences at home. And I think that's because the War Games match is very difficult live. Imagine sitting in the audience live watching that. You've got two rings, cages around both. You can barely see through the cage anyway. Imagine being live. How are you going to get a hot crowd for a War Games type match? You know what I mean? Go Go ahead.
I blame the Canadian.
Well,
fans.
we blame Canada for everything. We know that.
I'm only joking. Gru, you mentioned present and past. Staying on course with the WWE, Saturday night's main event returns tonight, marking the first time in nearly 2 decades WWE has revived their classic program. Saturday night's main event aired on NBC at various times of the year from 1985 to 1992 and was revived for a brief run starting in 2006. Gru, tonight's card is built like a major WWE premium live event with 4 championship matches. WWE promises to go with a cool retro feel and a look to the show, even bringing back Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary. Now, I want to say one thing about Jesse. On your YouTube feed was a interview from the WFAN with Jesse, and I'm just saying they got to be really strategic with Jesse because this guy goes on tangents, and they want to talk about WWE, and he's talking about Navy SEALs and a little bit with the politics, and like he's kind of a live wire, and he's still kind of ragging a little on the WWE and Vince and Hogan, and I'm like, Jesse, they want to just talk and I just want to hear you talk about, and he did to his credit talk about a little bit, and he gives stories, but I was like, they've got, and you know, I'm glad they're bringing him back, but as I said to you earlier, I mean, how many adults are going to know Jesse the Body Ventura? I mean, you got to go back, you know, your 40s and 50s for people, I think, to know him. But I am glad he's back, but they got to kind of be strategic for it, I think, to be an overall knockout. He's got to really stick to the script and to the matches. I don't want to hear him start talking about Navy SEALs or, the governorship of Minnesota or anything like that.
Right. Couldn't agree more. I didn't listen to the interview that you discussed, but I did listen.
Yeah,
well, go ahead.
The guys have really tried to roll with him.
No, I know. He did it. He came on Busted Open.
We don't want to talk politics.
Same thing.
He starts to talk about Navy SEALs, and you see the guys like with that weak smile on their face, like they just want to talk WWE and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, he did the same thing. I did listen to him. He did what they called a shoot run-in on Busted Open, and he called in. So he basically did the same thing. They're like, Jesse the Body Ventura is here, and he's like, you forgot one thing, Governor.
He said the same thing on FAN.
Yeah, so, but I think when it comes down to it, he'll call the match. I think, you know, when he does interviews, that's who he is, but I think he'll end up calling the match. But you know what? Jesse Ventura aside, I think it's super cool that they're doing it. Take that aside, I am really getting so unbelievably into this, like how they're doing it. They're doing it perfectly. They're setting it up so it's this one little nugget, maybe 4 times a year, that satisfies an itch for guys like you and me, that we can get that little nostalgic feel, but then on Monday go right back to what we're invested in today. And the reason why they're doing that so well is because the centerpiece of Saturday night's main event, while all the pageantry might go back to the 80s, the centerpiece is still going to be the matches of today. And that's what I'm looking forward to most. I'm looking forward to the matches of today juxtaposed with this retro idea of a show that's going to happen a couple times a year.
I can't agree with you more. I'm actually really I want to see the set because I think it's going to be a minimalist set that's going to look really cool. But it's in the barn. It's in Nassau Coliseum, which I was at the first Saturday night's main event. But it was
Were you really?
Nassau? Yes, I was.
Wow.
Saturday nights. Yeah, my dad took me. Nassau Coliseum is just a shit show of an arena. You're packed in tight. Fights back in the day, it was just everybody on
like
top
beer
of
and like sticky floors and seats and shit. It was great.
I think they're going to do, Andy, like kind of a minimalist set where they're going to go. They want to pack it in tight with the crowd. I don't know. I'm just really interested to see that retro feel with the top guys.
Yeah, and I'm all about it. But wait, I want to add one more thing. You're going to be proud of me because if you told me that this is how they're going to do Raw and SmackDown from now on, I would be like, no, this is.
I agree.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Usually, you would say, "Oh, you always want to go into the past and be like that." Yeah. No, Raw and SmackDown are exactly what they should be. This is perfect. Just like Saturday Night's Main Event back in the day. It was 4 times a year. Every quarter when Saturday Night Live would take a break. And they're doing it. It looks like they're doing it the exact same way. And you say that you were at the first Saturday Night's Main Event. I have a little tangent I want to talk to you about real quick. This was the time that I jumped on the wrestling bandwagon. This was the first Saturday Night's Main Event was shortly after WrestleMania 1, and it was WrestleMania 1 that got me into this. I remember we watched it at camp, and that sold me, and then from then on, it just built, and then Saturday Night's Main Event. So that's why this is like taking me back to when I first became a wrestling fan. And the most interesting thing, and I know you're getting bored by this, but the most interesting thing about it was I started thinking about a lot of wrestlers that were not in the WWF when I started when I started watching, but eventually came over, yet I knew who they were beforehand, even though I never watched anything else other than WWF. Talking about Ric Flair, Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, Anderson, Mr. Perfect, Hennig, Rude, Sid, the Road Warriors, Ronnie Garvin, Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race, all these people, I knew these guys.
Richard Christie?
Yeah, I'm just saying Bobo Brazil and the Blue Meat. No, but I knew of all these guys. How did I know of all these guys if I never watched anything other than WWF? You know what I mean? So it was just...
For me, it was running to D&D stationery store and getting Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Yeah, the magazines.
So I would read those magazines and just... I read Ric Flair. I mean, it was in my mind. I pictured, but I never got a chance to see him. So that's how I got my wrestling news back in the day. So,
I'm going to say that must have been the same for me. So so this is taking me back to a very cool time. So that I'm really looking forward to tonight. Watching live. I got my pub sub ready to go in the fridge. It's going to be a fun, lonely night.
Wasn't that a John Cougar Mellencamp song? Yeah. Fun, lonely night.
Fun, lonely old night when I put my arms around you.
All right, let's go to it first. We'll throw it to Andy first, then we'll switch off prediction. We'll open up with Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. Andrew, why don't you go ahead? Who do you got and why?
Yeah, I've got Drew McIntyre. He is an absolute red hot or white hot, whatever it's called. He's got to finally win this. And Sami Zayn doesn't need the win. He's going to be more connected to the bloodline, I think. And I think they're pushing Drew towards a heavyweight run for a championship. So I'm calling Drew to win. I'm calling it to be almost a squash. I feel like Drew's going to just beat the living shit out of Sami. That's the vibe I'm getting. Did you see what Drew did Busted Open the other day? Did you see that? Did you hear it?
No. Did he walk out? Or something?
Oh my God, yeah. It was. I'm not even gonna ruin it for you. Watch it after the show. Check it out. It's pretty. It's
okay.
It feels like a work, but if you listen to Bully Ray talk about it, it was not. So yeah, very interesting stuff. So yeah, Drew McIntyre clean, I think. What about you?
My notes say not even close. Sorry, Sammy. Drew McIntyre wins. So I pretty much see it the same way.
Okay.
Now we have the finals of the Women's United States Championship. I know that Chelsea Green beat Bayley. Did Tiffany Stratton beat Meechin, or did Meechin beat Tiffany Stratton?
I'm not sure.
I think Stratton won, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm all in on Chelsea Green. She is a classic sports entertainer. She got cut by the WWE. Triple H brought her back. They brought her back originally as this Karen gimmick that sort of morphed into like a mean girl with a comic undertone. She can roll in the ring. She's definitely improved in the ring. She's been there for like 2 years now, kind of working mid-card, making every opportunity that she's given the camera. She steals it. She's super fine to look at. I am all in on Chelsea Green. I think she's going to end up beating Tiffany Stratton. I'm pretty sure Stratton won.
It's Mission.
All right. Well, here's the thing. Actually, Meechin's another one who's worked the undercard. She's on SmackDown almost every show, and she puts over a lot of people. She's the workhorse, but I think it's Chelsea Green's time. I'm going Chelsea Green.
I'm going with you, Chelsea Green, for I don't even need to continue. All the same reasons you said. If it was Tiffany Stratton, I might be a little, but I might be a little more.
She's got the briefcase. She can do a gimmick
good
loss
point. Yeah,
and
good
not
point.
lose anything.
I forgot about that. You're right. Good point.
All right. Maybe I'm missing a couple of matches, but I'll do two more, and then you can correct me if I'm missing anything. I have a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther, Damian Priest, Finn Balor. I'll go to Andrew first. What do you think?
I am going to say that Damian Priest is going to win the heavyweight championship match and the title tonight. Damian Priest will pin Gunther. Not that matters, but I'm calling Damian Priest.
Does to me. All right, Andrew. First of all, I don't like that they added Damian Priest to this match. I don't like it. All right, all three men have issues. I'm just reading my notes here. But here's the thing, Andy. I just don't see Gunther leaving without his title. I think Gunther, they're going to ride Gunther to Mania, where I expect he probably will drop the title there. I love Finn Balor. I think he's a fantastic wrestler. I just don't think they've really positioned him to be a world champion. I'll kind of give the analogy on the next match pick. I think, you're also starting to see the dynamic within Judgment Day now with Balor and Liv Morgan kind of being a central storyline where they're struggling for power. I think Gunther is the only play here. I think Gunther retains the title and goes back on Ozempic. Gunther, you're getting a bit chunky there, Gunther. I wrote that. They teased Gunther almost a face turn, and then he kind of went a little bit heelish. I saw back on Raw, but I see Gunther. They're going to roll with Gunther to Mania. That's my thing.
All right, we should move to the next match because I'm going to give you my analysis. I'm going to circle back to it when we hit the Cody Rhodes match. Why I think?
Well, am I missing?
No.
Am I missing one? Because I have Cody Rhodes and KO next.
You have.
Am I missing? Is there another match?
Yeah, we have the World Championship, Liv versus Io Sky.
Oh, I do have that. Wait, hold on. Let me look at my notes. I'm so sorry. I did write this.
5 matches.
Oh, okay, right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, well, hold on. I just got to put this down. Andy's taking Damian Priest.
Yeah.
EM is taking Gunther. All right. Let's see here. Here has been... Okay, look, Groo, Io has been lights. She's the best female wrestler on the WWE roster, and that's really high praise because they are loaded with female talent. I'd love to see her get another run as champion, but I just don't think... There's just too many things for Morgan to do as champ, and I think ultimately it's going to end up being blown off her feud with Rhea Ripley, and you'll probably see a belt change there. I love Io Sky. She is freaking fantastic, and I would not mind her winning, but I just think Liv Morgan's going to somehow schmaz retain, chicken shit heel retain, and Liv Morgan is my pick. What do you got, Andy?
I'm going to agree with you. I think it's going to be Liv. I think Io is on a meteoric rise, and that will pay off, but not tonight. I think Liv Morgan, because they do have to blow off the Liv Morgan Rhea feud. Whoa. I don't know if they. I don't know if that is there enough heat on that to take it to Mania though. That's the thing. So maybe
you're not. No, let me take that. Let me take that call. You're not going to see Morgan and Rhea Ripley at Mania.
Right.
They will complete it before Mania, because my thing to you is 0 to 100. What percentage do you give Charlotte Flair returning tonight in some appearance or some form at Saturday night's main event?
100.
Yeah, I can't. Maybe I'll go 99. But
I think it's a given.
But that's gotta piss. I mean, it's gotta piss those ladies off, because it's like, listen, I love Charlotte Flair. I think she is, prior to Io Sky, the best. I mean, she still is, but it's like, She's just going to come in off her little injury break, and she's going to, take the spotlight, and somebody's going to get knocked
But isn't that how
out.
it works with everybody?
All right, I'm just venting.
Yeah, but I mean, who you're going to argue about? I mean, if you're Liv Morgan or even Rhea, you're going to argue about Charlotte Flair. She's the gold standard.
Yeah, I guess so.
And but I could see how after a certain point, it's kind of like the Cody Rhodes Rock thing, But I don't think they're at that level yet. That's the thing. So no, I don't think. I think they look at it like this is good for all of us.
All right. Look, I got to eat lunch at some point. Let's go to it, Andy. I'm only joking. Give it. You mentioned Cody Rhodes KO. Why don't you open up? And I'm sure you got some thoughts. Where do you think they're going tonight with this big match?
Yeah, if I were booking it, this shouldn't even end with a win or a loss. This should be a bloodbath brawl that ends up in a no contest, because that's what this story is. It's not about the title. It's a personal thing. So a lot of people think out there that Cody Rhodes is going to drop the title here because they have to make a big splash for Saturday night's main event, because it's got to be they have to make sure they're on live network TV. There are going to be a lot more eyes on it, and they're saying like they got to make a big thing, like anything can happen at Saturday night's main event, so to get people to tune in. I think that while I think to an extent that's true, I don't think they're going to do it with this. I think they're going to do it with Gunther. I think Gunther, that's the only reason why I am calling Gunther to drop the belt, because I don't think they should be taking it off Cody here. They don't need to. Kevin Owens does not have that. That's not what this story is about. However, it is what the Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Gunther story is about. It's about the title and the Judgment Day, but Priest was a champion for a minute. So he's sort of back in, so that's why I think they're going to go with Gunther, and I think if it has to end up with a winner, it'll be Cody Rhodes retaining. That's my prediction. But I think it's just going to be, and it should be, just a violent orgy of overbooked madness.
Yeah, I don't know for NBC. I don't know how, but is it 8 o'clock? Is it prime time?
8 o'clock. But that'll probably be the main event, which takes you to 10 o'clock. But I did think of something as the pundits were talking. I said, remember Saturday night's main event used to begin with the big match. The main event was always the opener, but that's also because it was starting at 11:30. This is starting at 8 o'clock. So
that would be interesting if they did that anyway.
It would,
because there's enough highlight matches here that they could. But listening to Andy's thoughts, I agree. I think Cody's the appointed guy, at least through Mania. And there's not a bigger fan than Kevin Owens. He is the utility player of the WWE, the high-level guy. He's the sixth man. He can come in at any time. Unfortunately, I just don't think I think his career, he'll make a ton of dough and he'll be in a lot of big matches, but I don't see a lot of extended championships runs for KO. I think he'll always be like the leading man, but not quite. I mean, the best supporting actor, not the leading man. I think that's his spot, and I'm sure he's probably come to terms with it because they're going to pay him a lot of money. But no, I don't see. Well, whatever my analogies, fuck my analogies. Cody Rhodes is.
I love the analogy. I love the analogy. So let me ask you a question. If you're Kevin Owens, all right, and you know that you're going to have a solid long career as the guy who's always the bridesmaid but never the bride, but always breathing down the neck and always in a hot feud, nonstop. You're never going to really get a title run, but you're always going to have that. Or you could have a year as champion, but when you're not champion, you disappear. You're like, imagine at this point Cody Rhodes without the title. It's like it would knock him down so much. And it's like once you're a champion and you lose it, you lose steam, don't you? Like I'm looking at Damian Priest, like he was on the mega rise and then he won and then I don't even know what happened. I forgot what happened, but they took it from him. Did he get hurt or something? And now he's like barely there. So that's why I feel like they're gonna like sort of force him down people's throats at this point because he is a money guy. I mean, Priest is good, right? You don't like him?
I'm not quite.
You're not a huge fan?
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. I just say I'm not quite as high on Damian Priest as you are. Again, I'm not saying he's not a talented guy and he's not a great performer. These guys and girls are all amazing athletes. Now, if you said to me, I'm a wrestler, I'm an independent contractor, I'm a wrestler, and I have an opportunity to go to the WWE and have a 10 to 20-year career and be on the cusp of belts and be in some great feuds and get a lot of TV time, or go to like AEW or the Indies or TNA and be a champ, I'm obviously going to stay with the WWE, make my money. I think a lot of guys, I think like Nakamura was a big-time guy outside the WWE. So, yeah, I mean, I think Kevin Owens is, although I'm reading his contract's perhaps going to be up and he hasn't re-signed. But anyway, I don't want to weigh it down with a full wrestling deal. But, well, I'm glad you like my analogy anyway, because that's kind of how I see KO. I think his look also, I mean, obviously I think Triple H is open to guys and girls who are not the classic wrestlers. But I think ultimately, I don't care who it is. I don't know. In my mind, when you're sitting there and you got some muscles and you got an impressive physique, I could see you as champion maybe a little bit more than a guy with a gut. I mean, I can't help it.
No. So we're agreeing. I think we're five. We're agreeing on each one here. I have one more thing to ask you. Do you think that the storyline that they seem to be running with Gunther, like the only thing I could think of is losing his smile? I mean, he seems like he's like sort of aimless by design. Do you see that? And that's, to me, that you mentioned that he's putting on a couple of pounds.
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I had read that they were that they were going to move him into face, but then on Raw, Damian Priest came in and he unloaded on Damian Priest and he unloaded on Finn Balor. So I don't know.
Hey, we think you're tired, frankly, of the whole good guy, bad guy thing. So, all right. So, hey, look, we're talking about it, which means it's good and exciting. I'm very much looking forward to tonight.
I mean, the only other thing I'm thinking is, now that I'm thinking about it, they're going to Netflix. They're entertainment. Gunther is more of your classic, a little bit more of your stoic sort of wrestler champion. He's a little bit less on the entertainment side, which I don't mind at all. I love Gunther. But could they make a move and perhaps get somebody who's a little bit more jazzy for the fans on Netflix? Maybe. But
also, if you're going to make a guy a face, the best way to do it is, if he's a heel, take the title away from him, have him disappear for a little bit, then come back as a face, and everybody will love him. So look at Roman Reigns. The same, he hasn't changed a bit, but people are now cheering him. So it's the same principle. So we'll see. But either way, I love it because you know why? Looking at all these matches, regardless of what direction they go in, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, I'm not looking at this like, oh, he's got to win or this has to happen. No, I'm interested in whatever happens, and that's new territory for me. I think I'm making a breakthrough here, Evan.
I go like this. I say, "Okay, Andrew," like I want to transition, and he goes, "Well,
one more thing.
I'm making a breakthrough." I'm excited. I am definitely excited.
Good.
Definitely excited. All right, Andrew. Before we talk all things Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, let's discuss 5 things we're talking about this week or last week or some week. It's nothing worthwhile. The week that was.
UU Life Center presents Nothing Worthwhile, the week that was.
My Alexa is apparently going off. It's listening to me podcast and talking to me. The week to you, the week that was is brought to you by New Life Center. They're having their Christmas party today. Beginning New You. Check out all of their medical weight loss programs. Gunther, are you listening? NewLifeCenters.com. Gunther, take down this number, 602-274-0068. Tell them Moody, Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. We want to thank Marie and the whole team at New You Life Center, my wife, my beautiful wife, Marie, and thank you to New You Life Center. Gunther, check him out. Yeah, he has gotten oh, boy. Oh, gosh.
Are you invited to the Christmas part?
No, I wasn't, to be honest.
What the? Marie!
Pay for the whole deal.
Let's go.
I'd rather stay home and
with the doggies.
Podcast with you and hang out with the
with
doggies.
The doggies.
All right. Like I said, this because we wanted a podcast last weekend, so some of these articles are over a week old. But look, Andrew, Nothing Worthwhile favorite Elton John said last Sunday that he is struggling to see his new musical, The Devil Wears Prada, after losing his eyesight because of an eye infection. John gave audience members an update on his condition at the conclusion of the musical opening night at London's Dominion Theatre, which was also a charity gala for Elton John AIDS Foundation. Quoting, Sir Elton, I haven't been able to come to many of the previews because, as you know, I've lost my eyesight, so it's hard for me to see. But I love to hear it, and it quite sounded good tonight. Groo Elton John revealed in September that he's been dealing with, quote, severe eye infection that left him only limited vision in one eye. He said it was healing, but it will take some time before the sight returns to the impacted eye. Last week, he told Good Morning America that there's hope and encouragement that he will recover, but admits he can't even see a lyric at the studio. Quoting Elton, I can't see anything. I can't read anything. I can't watch anything. Groo Elton John retired from touring in 2023. I don't know what to say, but it sounds like sad news for the Rocket Man.
Yeah, I mean, look, sounds.
What is? This is a dumb article. What is Andy going to say? That you know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean it sounds like karma because apparently he owns like 9,000 pairs of glasses. Like there's a guy who's like famous for his glasses. It's very ironic. It's unfortunate, but look, he did say he might be on the mend, so that's good. I'm hoping. Because I know he's not touring anymore, and I understand that, but sounds to me like he still wants to make music, so I hope he can still do that. And look, we don't want anybody to have ailments like that, so I hope for a full recovery, as he says. No one, Elton John is one of our guys, as it were.
Yeah, I watched... he did like a Nightline, and they had him with like Robin Roberts, and they had clips of the interview, and he's starting to look old, and he's got that ridiculous wig on where it's just like, like at least Elton, you're like, well, I don't know, maybe close to 80 at this point, like, kind of nuance it a little bit, like he's like this old.
He was like fully bald on top in the 70s.
I understand.
So
Andy,
it's been no secret that he's, it's like,
I know,
it's like if tomorrow I went into school with a wig, everyone will know, like, what the fuck,
I got to see that. I will pay that for that.
I
wig.
should. You know what? I took a picture last night. We had our holiday party. I won't. But we had our holiday party and we took this interesting picture. It's like a 360-degree kind of laser thing. So I've never really seen my hair from the back. And I looked at this thing. I'm like, oh, my God, what the hell happened to me?
Yeah, well, listen.
So, Rogaine, where are you?
I told this story. I was at an LA Fitness, and I was in my 30s. I was running on the treadmill. And these gyms have all these mirrors.
Oh.
And I'm running, and I go, man, that guy, he's got a bad bald spot. And I go, wait a second, it's fucking me.
That's kind of how I felt. I'm like, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Because I think at the time, I was like, hey, if Stone Cold Steve Austin could do it, so could I. I mean, clearly he's 280 and jacked. But anyway, Groo, the other guy, Billy Joel, has teased a previously unheard song named Every Time on John Mayer's new radio show. The Piano Man appeared on the pilot episode of John Mayer's new Sirius XM show, How's My Life, on Thursday, November 28th. Mayer asked Billy if he had any parts of any unfinished songs that he would be comfortable sharing with listeners. Describing it as a spare part, Billy Joel revealed that there was indeed an idea he had been toying with for years and years and years. Billy said he had always told myself I was going to do something with this. Something's going to happen with this. It's a really nice piece of music. Confirming that he did not think anyone had ever heard of it, he began to play a dramatic, moody solo piano break name every time. He quipped, the thought behind it was, every time I'll screw it up. Billy and John Mayer appeared on stage together last month, or maybe 2 months ago in Los Angeles for an edition of This Is the Time. Andrew, did you hear any of the Joel Mayer interview, and any thoughts?
I heard, what you gave me for the clip. And yeah, my thoughts are this. I remember back in 1997.
I am more, actually, I just want to say I'm more interested to hear this than his thoughts on Superman 4. So, because I feel like he's going to say something
I
right now.
remember back in 1997, after Billy Joel had made it clear that he was done recording, River Dreams was it. And we were always, we were like, what a bummer. It was around 97 where rumors starting where Billy was having secret meetings with Phil Ramone, and they were, talking about another album. Even, there were some phony titles that were thrown around, like Sacred Hearts or something or whatever. So since then, literally every 5 years, the rumors start again. Billy, shut up. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking about little nuggets, things, and I could have done this with that. Shut up and do something with it. Then it's not. You know why? And I sound selfish, but it really insults the fans. It really insults the fans. You know your fans want nothing more than to A, see you live, and B, have some new music. Your hardcore fans are dying for new music. The way they responded to that new song, even though it was an okay song, nothing incredible, but it was incredible the fact that there was a new Billy Joel song, and we all gravitated to it. And so, knowing that, if you're not going to do anything, stop dropping these little teases. Answer to Mayor. Nah, I got nothing. I told you I got nothing. Well, I got nothing. I'm just playing live, and that's it. Stop giving us these little, because now everyone's going to be, oh, my God, turn the clock back on again. It's like, enough. I don't want to hear it anymore until there's something to hear. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean about kind of insulting to the fans a little bit?
Not only do I agree with you, I think that this was gimmicked. I think this was discussed prior. This was because they positioned this in the advertising as, it's his new show. And so it's like, they hinted on it on
a revelation.
On the, like this was going to be so, oh my God, we're going to hear this piece of Billy Joel's new music now. Because I don't know, it just seemed very gimmicked, like, John asked him about it, and then he was like, yeah, I got something. And then you see John like, oh. Now, that being said, I listened to bits and pieces of the interview. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I'd much rather have John Mayer at this point interview Billy Joel than Howard or anybody. I think John is a student of the game and clearly a Billy Joel fan. But yeah, I agree with you. I actually like Turn the Lights Back On, and then he played it maybe 4 or 5 times live, and then he dropped it from the set. And to me, even if I'm a hardcore Billy fan, I mean, yeah, just throw it in there because I want to hear it. It's something new.
No, this is where I disagree with you. Don't just throw it in there. Put it in there in the right spot.
Okay.
Don't do what he did and bury it between Don't Ask Me Why and Pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, what you do is, you know what you do? You close the show with that.
I agree.
By yourself. No band. Get on stage. Play it on the piano. Close it. Close the show with that. And you send the audience home like, wow, that was a real moment for Billy Joel. And he had the chance to do that. And he just, look, maybe you're right. Maybe he's just chicken shit. I don't know.
You're not going to get that from Billy anymore. You're not going to get that. He doesn't take chances like that.
That's what I mean. That's why I said chicken shit. That's what I mean. It's harsh, but that's so. My answer to the thing is just stop talking. If you got music, play it. That's it.
Andrew, have you heard about the buzz? Have you heard about this potential golden at-bat rule in baseball?
Oh, God damn it. Yes. Fuck.
All right. Well, do you want to talk about it?
Oh God, help us! I mean, where are we headed? Why? What's the rationale?
Well, I think it's shot down, but in 2015, Rob Manfred, who's the baseball commissioner, I guess in 2015 he completely dismissed the idea of any batter coming up in a given situation during the baseball game. I know there's been some buzz over the last couple of weeks that this may be an option for the Baseball Rules Committee. I have since read that they're most likely not going to go this route, but I thought it'd be fun to talk about. I know Andrew is a baseball fan, and so am I. So
yeah. Well, all right. So this is very simple.
Well,
for me.
Here. Let me
go ahead.
give you this. The Post's Mike Vaccaro wrote last Wednesday that the idea is, quote, idiotic, imbecilic, and utterly moronic. Former WFAN host Mike Francesa on his podcast said he would absolutely refuse to watch baseball again if the Golden Bat Rule was instituted by the MLB. Quoting Francesa, "This is not the sport that I grew up with, and I cannot even fathom. I cannot even seriously interject that this is a real possibility. This changes the game so fundamentally. It changes every part of the game. It changes the history of the game. It changes the evaluation of players. It changes everything. So to me, it's not even something to discuss. Groo, the Golden Bat Rule, let's discuss."
Yeah, it's nothing to discuss. Okay. Listen, all I'll say is this. Years ago, in an under 11 game,
oh my gosh, come on.
I wanted to win so bad that I suggested somebody else to hit in place of a weaker hitter. And Gil Frishman threw me out of the game because the worst thing you can do is to change the batting order. It's an automatic out.
No, okay, I didn't know that.
Since that happened and since that childhood trauma, I will not allow, because that's what this does. It's like fucking with the batting order, and that is something that is fundamentally against every rule in baseball. But I was 10 years old at the time, so I didn't know that.
Why, though? I understand your reaction. I understand. But why does that intrigue me a little bit, though, if they said, like, once a game? Please hear me out. I mean, imagine you have the best closer up, and then Aaron Boone says Aaron Judge gets to go to the – I mean, it would just create crazy matchups and scenarios. I'm not against what you're saying, but why does that intrigue me ever so slightly?
It's absolutely intriguing, but the damage to the integrity of the game is not worth that intrigue.
Okay.
So the way you were just describing it sounds like a pro wrestling thing. It creates a big matchup in a scenario, and unfortunately, that's not pro baseball. And so Francesa is 100% on the mark, and Vaccaro is absolutely right. It would fundamentally change literally everything. And I still feel the same way about the National League adopting the DH. Pitchers are a part of the lineup, and it never. I mean, it makes sense to me from a pageantry point of view, but there's no logic to it as far as how the game is supposed to be played. I feel even more passionate against this than I would the DH. This is like DH squared or cubed. So hell no, and I don't think it's going to happen. They'll get way too. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Now, work with me. We got a lot to discuss, but real quick, your thoughts on the Juan Soto signing for the New York Mets. Work with me. Let's give our thoughts and let's move on. But I want to hear your thoughts on it.
It's if history tells us anything, he'll probably shit the bed for a while and then start playing a little bit in 15 years. What is it? 10 years or 15?
16-year contract.
16 years. All right. And
is that incredible? Think about this, Andy. He'll
be 41 years old.
16 years. Yeah. A 16-year contract. See, Andy, you know what? I'll give you credit because I thought as a Met fan, here's my thing. I had him on the Yankees for a year. He is I think he's probably the best hitter in the game right now. If And so when I talk about buyer's remorse, I'm talking about it on a 97th, 98th percentile. I think he's absolutely going to put up great numbers for the Mets. My question is, will he put up mammoth numbers? You have to remember, lefty in Yankee Stadium, short right field porch, hitting in front of Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is not the greatest hitter in the game, but he's the best power hitter in the game. I will argue that point, So, and then the years, I think he's still young enough. You're going to get probably a good 10-year value. If he doesn't opt out in 2029, history shows us that he's all about the money. I'm not going to criticize him for that because I might be too, but I would not be surprised if he opts out in 2029 and the Mets got to kick in another $4 million every year remaining. Now, baseball has moved to these ridiculous, not the Mets, baseball has moved to these ridiculous 15, 16-year contracts. Perhaps the money is spread over years and deferments and all this bullshit. But the Mets are going to have to expect at some point on the back end of the contract, they're going to lose value because he is going to get old. But I think in the short term, he's the best hitter in the game, comes to the Mets, who has a strong history of Latin ball players. My only question is, is he going to put up 42 and 130? I don't know. But if he puts up 35 and 110, I'm still pretty happy if I'm a Met fan.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if I'm correct, is that they're basically looking at this and says we're going to pay $760 million for
maybe even more
for a 15-year contract with the hopes and the expectation of getting maybe 5 championships in those 15 years. And they believe that is worth the 10 losing seasons. And I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree because, and I agree begrudgingly because.
Let me ask you, let me give you the scenario. I mean, if you're as a fan, like you look at A-Rod, who had an 11-year contract, ups, down, put up massive numbers, but then in 2009 comes through, wins a championship, has a great postseason. Does that make a player Teflon, or does that make a player, in your mind, give them good positioning history-wise and judgment-wise? So if Juan Soto, even if he wins one championship with this contract, as a Met fan, are you like, you know what? Glad to have Juan Soto on board. Or are you like, well, we didn't reach expectations of 5 championships? You know what I mean?
Me as a fan, yes, I'm good with that. But I'm not spending the $765 million. So they're the ones who really have to make that decision.
Good point.
But as a fan, it's not my money. So unless that's going to triple the ticket prices, which it possibly could,
right.
But it's not really my money. So if we haven't had the Mets. I'm a Met fan. We haven't had a championship since '86. So if it's going to cost the team $760 million to get one, it's worth it to me.
Do you put the Mets in the top 3 in the NL next year with this signing?
Yes, because they almost made it with what they had. And
I agree.
While I don't think they're going to end up getting Alonso, because I think Alonso could get a lot more money elsewhere, especially since this contract, they came close. So I think they've done this before. They did it with Jason Bay. And that was a shit show.
Not to this
extent.
Level.
You're right.
This is an A++ free agent. This puts New York fans and the Yankees on notice. The Yankees are no longer the undisputed kings of baseball of New York. And sorry, that's my Amazon just.
Yeah, but now the problem becomes.
Now you got the massive expectations.
Yes.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah,
and if the first half of the season is him finding his roots, trying to figure out how to play at Citi Field, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good enough. He's got to hit like a grand slam on opening day to win the game. Like that's how much pressure's on this guy. But you know what?
That's tough.
But you know what? If you're making I'm going to do Kevin Nash on it. If you're making $760 million guaranteed money, how much pressure are you really under? You get that money no matter what, whether you become a complete asshole or not.
No, Kevin Nash. I agree with you, though. I think expectations will be massive, and I do think if things, don't kick off, if things don't kick off massive, pressure begins.
Yeah, that's the culture now. Immediate gratification. He's got to pay off right away.
Listen, as I've gotten older, when I was, younger, I hated them. I don't hate the Mets. Obviously I would have liked. I think, if he would have signed with the Yankees, he would have had probably the greatest 1-2 punch in not in baseball history, but at least in this history, so to speak.
This generation, absolutely.
But look, Yankees apparently they're going to pivot and whatever. All right, let's move on. James Gunn, the mastermind behind Marvel's beloved Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, might be stepping away from the intergalactic team for good. He is now the co-CEO of DC Studios, and he's busy launching a new DC universe. James Gunn recently shared on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast that he's uncertain about his future with the Guardians. Gunn opened up about the creative project he had in mind while still working with the Guardians. Quoting James Gunn, "There were so many ideas we wanted to explore but didn't get to. Among those grew was a Ravager spinoff, a legendary Star-Lord solo adventure, and a Rocket and Groot project." When he is asked if he's legally obligated to return to the Guardians franchise, James Gunn confessed he's unsure. "I don't know the exact legal answer. I'm not sure what the answer is," he admitted. Despite the uncertainty, James Gunn gave his full support to the cast and future project. "Chris Pratt has my blessing. They all have my blessing." Marvel has not announced any new Guardian-specific movies or TV shows. Let's see here. Marvel has 2 mystery projects slated, this is what the article says, for 2026. Could one of those be something with the Guardians? And of course, Groo, if the Guardians return, the team's lineup will look different because that's what they teased in the last movie. Zoe Saldana has said she is done as her final appearance as Gamora. And blah, 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 blah. All right. I don't know. Groo, James Gunn, he's a busy man with DC and, perhaps maybe something with Marvel in the future.
Well, he probably should not burn any bridges to Marvel because I believe his entire career is hanging on this upcoming Superman movie that hasn't really been any good since the movie we're going to discuss in a little while. So he's got a lot riding on this, and if it doesn't fly, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended, if it doesn't fly, then he's probably going to want to try to go back to the Guardians of the Galaxy because so far his tenure in DC hasn't been successful.
Oh, wait, hold on. The Blue Beetle was good.
It didn't make money. People aren't remembering
look that
it.
Up. I take umbrage with that statement. I think it did make money.
But they're expecting.
They had the dude from Cobra Kai. I don't think it was a massive budget. I'm pretty sure it cleared a nice profit for them.
Maybe
they did the Blue Beetle, and there was one other thing I think that Gunn.
He did the Flash, which everybody else hated except for me.
Flash was I think prior.
You sure? Okay, all right, fair enough.
That's garbage. Oh God,
I'm the only one who liked it. I don't know why. It's strange.
Stop it!
I swear, I'm still baffled.
Really quick. Oh my God. Okay, We'll discuss it another time. All right, I understand it wasn't a classic, but you didn't like on some level the Henry Cavill Superman. I thought that was good.
No,
great.
I'll tell you why. Very, very simply, I hated the way they told the story. It was the non-linear fashion, and it just confused me. It got over the top. The best, you know what? I'm going to save it for the Superman 4 discussion because really, the Henry Cavill Superman. The best thing about the Christopher Reeve Superman is that he was an extraordinary, being in an ordinary world. There is nothing ordinary, and I've said this before, there's nothing ordinary about the DC universe that this Superman exists in. So it's not even a big deal. It's like and plus the way that they made the movie Man of Steel, and then all of a sudden Lois is in cahoots with Jor-El. Like, that's just taking it to like what more shit can we throw in here? It just did not work for me. But it's probably because I am partial forever to the first 2 Superman movies with Reeve. Though that's the gold standard, and anything, I can't see anything comparing to that.
All right, fine. Real quick, what was that again? Extraordinary. Let me hear that saying again. Extraordinary being in
an extraordinary being in an ordinary world.
God, I'm motivated.
So like if you look at
come on, go with the comedy. I was going to please. We got you.
You want to be an extraordinary man in an ordinary world?
Yeah, I feel like if I watch that on a workout video,
but think about just one more thing. Think about that Superman. He's surrounded by people with powers. Superman being the only one with the powers is the only way that the character of Superman can really work. That's my opinion on that. Justice League and even the cartoons, stuff like that, it just never works. Superman is its own thing. So that's my thoughts on that.
I have a headache. Okay, let me move on. I'm trying to think about this, wrap my head. I'm like, okay, beings. All right, I'm only playing. Groo, real quick, let's wrap it up with WWE is once again returning to reality TV with a newly announced WWE LFG series that will air on A&E. The primary goal of LFG, which stands for Legends and Future Greats, will be mentoring the next generation of athletes and will include Triple H, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Booker T, Bubba Ray Dudley, and a returning Mickie James. Oh, we love Mickie James. It will debut in early 2025. From the wrap, it's describing the show as existing legends will mentor aspiring wrestlers as they compete in the ring with WWE contracts on the line. The series will also feature behind-the-scenes content of their training process. For Mickie James, it will be her first WWE on-screen work since appearing in the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble. Her husband, Nick Aldis, is the on-screen general manager for WWE SmackDown. It is the latest advancement in the partnership between WWE and A&E. Last Friday's announcement included news of a new season of WWE Rivals and a new half-hour show called WWE's Greatest Moments. This will be a Michael Cole-hosted program. It's a clip show to, quote, share vivid recollections and perspectives on the most remarkable moments in wrestling history with special guests such as Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, and Kevin Owens. The new season of Rivals will feature the looks at Hulk Hogan versus The Ultimate Warrior and Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Wow. Groo, excited for the WWE to get back into the reality television game.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, WWE fans are the most overfed
I know, right?
fan base in the world. For us to complain about literally anything having to do with wrestling is just silly. Yeah, I'm actually excited, and it's interesting because remember, this is basically Tough Enough again, right? For the most part, same premise. Same premise, different. Okay, so I wasn't into Tough Enough back then. I'm looking forward to this, and I think it's only because it speaks to the quality of the entire product now. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this because the wrestling business has changed. I think Tough Enough was ahead of its time, and I probably should have watched. And because one thing I know, like you, I'm jealous of you a lot because you know a lot of these lesser known talents better than me because you watched that stuff. You said, that's the guy from Tough Enough. That's the guy from NXT. Me, I'm always the snobby guy who only watches the top level thing. So, but this I'm looking forward to. And I heard about it, not from, I mean, I knew about it, but I heard about it only because Bully Ray was talking about it. So I was like, well, that sounds really cool. So yeah, but anything, the Rivals thing, I love those Rivals shows. I love the fact that they're giving us something new at the same time they're giving us something, from the past as well. So yeah, keep it coming. What was the third thing? You got the Rivals. You got the.
They have a clip show called WWE's
LFG.
Greatest Moments.
Well,
LFG is the reality.
Doesn't that also stand for Let's Fucking Go? Isn't that what people say?
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
I love them and their little double on their little puns. But yeah, this sounds. Look, they're firing on all cylinders, and everything they do, at least, and you tell me if you agree with me. Everything they do, at least, looks like and feels like they really put a lot of work, time, and effort into it. It might not end up exactly the way we want it to, storyline-wise or this-wise, but at least at least it's not. There's nothing half-assed anymore about this company.
Listen, folks, I may have to go get my lunch because Andy, he's dialed in. He wants to talk right now.
Hey, we haven't done this in a month.
Let me tell you a couple of things. First of all, when you mention Tough Enough, I think of The Miz. He was the winner of the first Tough Enough. So now, to me, my interest is because, I am interested in fitness and stuff. I want to see, though, that their workouts, their training must be super, super intense. And you're going to see a lot of these young folks be really pushed to the limit. The mentoring should be fun. To me, Bubba Ray is the most interesting cat on there. In terms of in that role.
Because he'll be brutally honest.
Yeah, he's going to be tremendous. He's going to be tremendous. I think him and Booker T will probably be the two guys. Listen, Undertaker, Shawn, Triple H, I think they're more company guys. I think they'll be a little bit more measured in their approach. But Bubba Ray on that environment where he is not connected, as far as I know, per se, to the WWE.
I think he's on a Legends deal, which means nothing.
I think
that just has to do with like merchandise and things like that.
But nonetheless, I am excited for this show, and yes, I like Andy. I'm always hungry for new WWE content, and their production is second to none. It's very funny. I'll just say this. I'll throw something at you real quick. On Netflix, they're starting to put somewhat wrestling-related small stuff, and they put on This Is the XFL, which is the 30 for 30 from ESPN in regards to the Vince McMahon-led XFL. And, it was a failure.
Twice.
However, allow me the floor, please. However, as one of the things, Jesse Ventura, who's been a frequent critic of WWE and Vince McMahon, Jesse did talk about some of the technology that they used, the camera, the overhead camera on a rope stringed out, the angles, the entertainment aspect, the fireworks, all that stuff has been adopted by the NFL. So my only point is that WWE, they're usually ahead of the curve of production. They get very cutting edge folks that do that stuff. And so I'm looking forward to all the new shows. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Groo, today's Nothing Worthwhile. Oh boy, it's only 6 hours in and we're going to Superman.
Actually, we're doing pretty good today. We're only an hour and a few minutes in. So, we're doing good.
Right. I'm only playing. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace is brought to you by New Life Center. Be the new you, whether it's virtual RF microneedling. That's the laser stuff. Marie just got lasered. She had wanted to freshen up for Christmas. Ooh. I came home and I was like, ah! She was like, your face, chunks of skin sloughing off. And but that's natural. But then, a fresh layer grows. And I'm like, oh, my wife doesn't look 50. Thank God. Anyway, I looked 100 and,
Oh, stop it.
Stop it. Hormone balancing, laser treatments, medical aesthetics, cosmetic injectables, and medical weight loss programs. New You is where it is at. Come on, everybody. Come on down to Phoenix. Check them out. Check them out on their website, on their social media. Give them a call at 602-274-0068 and tell them that you want something worthwhile. And you heard them from Nothing Worthwhile. New Life Center, Phoenix's premier med spa. Yeah. All right, Andrew, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, that came up on our Cyborg podcast. Andrew gave the great story about pigeons being used in Superman 4. And so we decided it would be a fun topic to discuss. Superman 4 is rated PG. It's got a runtime of 1 hour, 30 minutes. It's directed by Sidney J. Furie and written by Lawrence Connor and Mark Rosenfeld. Was Lawrence Connor part of the... I feel like I've heard that name. Was he part of that original writing team or anything like that? Is there any connection with Lawrence Connor?
I feel like... I'm not the Superman writing team. I think these are all canon guys.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that those guys probably worked on a lot of those canon movies, but they were the people who wrote the other Supermans were all like Mario Puzo, the guy who wrote The Godfather. He wrote the scripts for the Superman, the good Superman movies. Not these guys.
Superman, may the birth of your son be a masculine son. Well, this was taken from a story written by Christopher Reeve. At this point, they're saying it's the 5th film, including Supergirl, in the Superman film series and a sequel to Superman 3. It is the first film in the series not to have the involvement of the Salkinds as producers. This film also marks the final appearance of Christopher Reeve as Superman, who agreed to return in exchange for a larger salary and some creative control, where he contributed his script dealing with nuclear disarmament. Yeah.
What?
I'm just... do you know anything about Sidney J. Furie, Groo?
A little bit. Yeah, I think his biggest thing was Iron Eagle, I want to say. But I think he was one of those guys. I don't know if he's still alive, but he was one of those guys who's like, they call them hacks, but they're just people who are directors for hire. Meaning, like, you have a movie that you need a director. Here's a guy who can direct. It's not the same thing as, Sylvester Stallone writing a new Rocky and him directing it. It's somebody fresh, giving a fresh perspective, and someone who will basically do what the producers want him to do. And I think that's the kind of director that's a career. And I think Sidney J. Furie had a lot of credits in that realm, and I think this is definitely one of them.
Well, what if I told you in 1972 he directed Lady Sings the Blues, which Diana Ross won an Academy Award. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'd listen. You know better than me, but I don't know if I'd put that as kind of a guy for hire.
No.
Now he may have been put in an unfortunate situation here, but he also did The Jazz Singer,
which was a notorious flop.
He was replaced by Richard Fleischer halfway. He was originally offered to direct The Godfather by producer Albert S. Ruddy, but he was replaced by Francis Ford Coppola due to the producer's desire to keep the film ethnic to the core. Wow, identity directing all the way back in the 70s.
Imagine that.
Maybe they wanted it. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong then. I guess maybe his career went in that direction.
Maybe.
But from what I remember, I never saw Lady Sings the Blues. From what I understand about that movie, it's not considered to be a great movie, but Diana Ross's performance is supposedly incredible. Okay. So that's all I know about that one. It's the Billie Holiday story, I think.
Yes, Billie Holiday. Furie's 1981 horror movie, The Entity, was declared by Martin Scorsese to be one of the scariest movies of all time. I don't know anything about The Entity. Yeah. And of course, as Andy mentioned, the 1986 action war film Iron Eagle, based on the real-life 1981 Gulf of Sidra incident.
Now, I love that movie.
Yeah, well, we're going to do a Gulf of Sidra podcast in 2027.
Iron Eagle's great. Right?
Yeah, but why do I feel like Iron Eagle was like a poor man's Top Gun?
Because it is. It's absolutely a poor man's Top Gun, but it's got its own charm. It's multiple. We should talk about it at some point, but not today.
Okay. Chappie, was that Chappie?
Chappie, Louis Gossett Jr., the late great.
Well, my notes say that Sidney J. Furie did Superman 4, but he was really never to be heard of again in mainstream circles.
Yeah.
After Superman 4.
This didn't land very well, as it were. So, yeah, he probably made a mistake with this one. But I don't blame him, and I know why. But we'll get to that.
You know why what?
Well, I mean, look, it's
Hold on. I'm sorry. I was looking at my notes. I wasn't focused.
No, I think you said before he got put into a bad situation, and I think this is one of those because from what I understand, the original budget for the movie was double what it ended up being. And when you're a director, you got to make it work with what you have. And if you accept a job thinking you're going to have one thing, and then all of a sudden the producers say, no, it's going to be something else, you're kind of fucked. And it seems like that's what happened with him.
All right, so let's talk about it. Because the Salkinds had control over the Superman franchise, as far as I understand it.
Yes.
Andy, please.
Yes,
Okay.
they had it
Please.
through Superman, Superman 2, Superman 3, and Supergirl. And then I think after Supergirl and Superman 3 tanked or weren't received well, they decided to just sell the rights over to Canon.
All right, so let me tell you what happened here, or at least my notes. Andrew's the expert. I will defer to Andrew.
The Superman franchise, I'm fascinated.
I know. He is. Look, he knows this shit backward and forward. After negotiating during the 38th Cannes Film Festival, Ilya Salkind agreed to sell the Superman franchise to Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus of the Cannon Group for $5 million in June of 1985. Studio, meaning Cannon, enticed Reeve to return by offering him $6 million and financing for his pet project, a movie called Street Smart, and approval over the story and director. Reeve's story was accepted, and he was also considered as the film's director. Although he was allowed to direct some second unit scenes, he was ultimately deemed too inexperienced for the full-time job. All right, let me read you a couple more things. Richard Donner claimed in the commentary for Superman 2, the Donner Cut, that Cannon unsuccessfully asked him to return to the series. Donner declined his part due to a scheduling conflict with Lethal Weapon. Wes Craven was originally hired by Cannon Films to direct Superman 4, but he and Reeve did not get along well, and Reeve demanded that a new director be brought in. After Christopher Reeve recommended Ron Howard, Sidney J. Furie was hired. Richard Donner, Wes Craven, Ron Howard, Sidney J. Furie. Groo, what do you think of the chaotic backstory on Supes 4? Was this doomed from the start?
Probably, because it seems to me that Christopher Reeve really was serious about having a lot of control, and the more the bigger the name director, the less control he was going to have. So it seems to me, and that is not a good way to start to start off making a movie. It's not a good way to start off anything. So yeah, it sounds to me like there are egos involved here, and rightly so. This is, the movie doesn't fly without, again, no pun intended, the movie doesn't fly without Christopher Reeve, and he has the right to, and if he says, I want it this way, you got to do it that way. And it does not appear as though they listened to him very much. So I would have sided with him on that one. He was Superman, and you have to take that into account. Basically, they should have let him direct it. And if it was a flop, it was a flop. But they should have let him direct it.
I want it that way.
J-K-Y-E. Oh, wait.
I know, they don't even play that anymore. I mean, Groo, look at the cast of Superman 4. It's still got a lot of big names. Christopher Reeve as Superman, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Margot Kidder, Lois Lane, Jackie Cooper, Perry White. Mark McClure comes back as Jimmy Olsen for a bit. John Cryer as Lenny. Sam Wanamaker as David Warfield. Marielle Hemingway as Lacey Warfield. And, of course, WWE enhancement talent Mark Pillow as Nuclear Man.
That's not true, is it?
I'm joking.
He was a Chippendale guy. No, I'm asking. I didn't know.
You always know.
I know he was a Chippendale guy, but don't ask me. Don't ask me why I know that though.
Yeah, how do I know that? Excuse me. I mean, no. Quick, delete my Chippendales app off my phone. Anyway, I mean, we'll get to the filming. I mean, it's still got a pretty impressive name cast. Whether they're used wisely is another story. What'd you think of, Andy, or any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, they basically have the cast that they need. All the the original players are in there, so they have all the tools that they need to make an effective sequel. In other words, what they didn't have for Superman 3, they didn't have Gene Hackman. They barely had Margot Kidder. That's a whole other thing. And basically, it was a Richard Pryor movie made into a Superman movie. So that's why that didn't work. Here, they had everything they needed to make it work, and there's a very specific reason why it didn't. And we'll get to that.
So you talked about that. And In his autobiography, Still Me, Christopher Reeve described filming the movie. We were also hampered by budget constraints and cutbacks in all departments. Cannon Films had nearly 30 movies in the works at that time, and Superman 4 received no special consideration. All right. Shortly before production began at Elstree Studios on September 27, 1986, Cannon reduced the budget from $36 million to $17 million. Part of the problem was that Cannon financed its films by selling the television and home video rights in advance, which failed with the films of a budget of over $5 million. The studio had also gone 6 years without a major hit. The studio was narrowly saved from bankruptcy after a deal with Warner Brother Pictures to provide $75 million to repay its loans in exchange for distribution rights to its upcoming films, which included Superman 4. During the production, the filming and special effects crews of the first 3 films were replaced with cheaper Israeli crews. Of course, is those Israeli Jews. Principal photography concluded at the beginning of January 1987. As Groo mentioned, I mean, obviously, Groo, this had to impact the film in a major way.
Wait, what was that last thing you said? I was stuck on the Israeli Jew thing. What was the last thing you said?
I'm just saying that these budget cuts, you mentioned it. This not only budget cuts, but you're replacing veteran crews with, all joking aside, new Israel, don't matter, Israelis, whoever, newer crews. Obviously the impact is tremendous. I got to just say one thing. We'll get to my thoughts on the film, but right off the bat, you watch the film and the opening's supposed to be that cool Superman graphics. You're like, what the fuck?
Okay,
like,
I'm gonna play something for you right now. I'm gonna share my screen so you can hear it.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay? Let's see where is what I'm looking for. Look at all this shit.
Oh, come on, have it at least.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh my God, look at his.
Do you see it?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I want you to listen. How do I share the sound?
It's got to be up in Teams. It's up on the Teams.
Oh, right. All right. So what I'm about to play you is the opening credits for, or at least part of it, for the for Superman 4. Now, where is the share? Where is the? Wait, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I got to share.
There should be a share.
Include sound. Got it. All right, so here, I want you to listen to this real quick, okay?
Go ahead. I'm actually interested.
Can you hear?
To hear.
All right.
I don't.
Listen, you don't hear anything.
I do not, no.
Oh, damn it. All right, I know why. Hold on. All right, anyway, it's probably because I'm playing it off of Max, and they have this algorithm that stops it from being able to be shared. It's not like YouTube.
Okay.
I couldn't get what I was trying to get from YouTube for some reason. So let me explain. Have I stopped sharing? Can you see me now? Can you see me now? Okay, good. All right. Yeah. So what I just played for you, the opening credits. Now, the Superman score by John Williams is my pick as my favorite score of all time. I can't think of anything just more iconic than that fits a movie better. So every sequel, he doesn't come back to do it. Somebody is hired to adapt his score. So for Superman's 2 and 3 that had a budget, they brought in, I don't know their names, but they brought in people who really recreated the score very well. Here, in that first few moments that I just played for you that you couldn't hear, the version of the score is so bad it sounds like it's being played by a middle school band, and right at this crescendo you could hear one of the trumpets make an absolutely horrible note, and they left it in. It reminds me of that bad note that Phil Collins hits on Against All Odds from Live Aid, where he grimaces. Remember that? And like to A, have that happen, and B, leave it in and have it so glaring is like, it tells me everything. And plus, take that from the cheesiness of the credits, you can tell right away. But that's not something that anybody knows when you're filming. So all these people, Gene Hackman, Sam Wanamaker, and Christopher Reeve, they think that they feel like they're making something really good. when the movie's put together and it's put together on a shoestring, that's where, and then they go to see it and they're like, what the fuck? So that's basically a good example of what happened here.
You've been on movie sets. Are you telling me, though, at some point, I mean, Hackman's got to know that this is a dog of a production. I mean, just by watching the people around you, and you're bringing in more inexperienced folks, and people from the original 2 or 3 movies are no longer. I mean, right?
But when you're acting, you don't know that, because you don't know that the person they have doing the music is not the person that they had doing before. That the special effects, because all of that is done later. So
post-production.
So if you're Gene Hackman, all you're seeing is the people you've worked with before. Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder, they're all there. So everyone's probably, and even Jimmy Olsen, they're all there. So it's like, okay, we're in familiar ground here. We should be in good shape.
Well, let me read you this. According to John Cryer, who played Luther's nephew Lenny, Christopher Reeve had taken him aside just before the release, and told him it was going to be, quote, terrible. Although Cryer stated that he enjoyed working with Christopher Reeve and Hackman, Cryer claimed that Cannon ran out of money during the production and ultimately released an unfinished film.
And that's, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you saw it. What do you think? You agree with that statement? Well, no. I mean, do you agree with that statement about an unfinished film? I'm going to say yes, because it does really look. It looks like a work print in a lot of ways, doesn't it?
Well, unfinished meaning not polished, a terrible production? Yes. I mean, did they tell the story? Perhaps poorly, but according to writer Mark Rosenthal's commentary on the 2006 DVD, in the gallery of deleted scenes included on the disc, there are approximately 45 minutes of the film that had not been seen by the general public. Some of this was a failed. So I guess this was removed. They did a screening in Southern California. Nuclear Man that appears in the film there was actually 2 Nuclear Mans that Luther created. Cutscenes include the original Nuclear Man, played by Clive Mantle, engaging Superman in a battle outside the Metro Club and being destroyed by the Man of Steel. The first Nuclear Man was somewhat more inhuman looking than his successor in both looks and personality, kind of resembling the comic book character Bizarro. Luther postulates that this Nuclear Man wasn't strong enough and hatches his plan to create a second Nuclear Man within the sun, which you see on the movie. I don't know. To me, that sounds pretty fucking cool.
Sounds great. Sounds great on paper. This is not a badly written movie. Problem is, when they filmed it, and if you look at the deleted scenes, I've seen them, obviously, he will remind you of a cross between, let's keep it in the family, a cross between High Pitch Eric and Fred the Elephant Boy. That's what this first Nuclear Man ended up looking like, a retarded monkey. And you could probably YouTube it and see how stupid it looks, and they were right to cut it. But the idea of it is great. The idea of a malfunctioning, Nuclear Man. And the idea is absolutely great. But the money, they didn't have enough money to make it look this is the way these guys make movies. They're like, oh, we can do this way. Nobody will know the difference. Oh, they'll laugh. It'll be fun. It's Superman. Everybody's going to come and buy the tickets anyway. That's how these guys make their movies. They spend a little, and if they think that whatever their small budget is will double, to them it's a win. It doesn't matter if the movie's good or not. So yeah, this Nuclear Man was. I mean, it's actually hilarious if you look at it.
Is that your impression of like Cannon guys?
That's what Menahem Golan sounds like. That's
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I want you to maybe we'll do a podcast where you just do Menahem.
Yes, we can do this. We can do it like this. Nothing worthwhile. Very good. But we don't spend no money. We don't spend no money. We just sit here. We talk. And
that's
people,
true. We don't spend
and people
money,
will still pay because of you. You are the man.
Well, we'll skip. I mean, we don't need to go over the plot or anything like that. But Andrew, you talked about the
money. It's a good plot, though, isn't it?
Well, Do you want me to get to it? Because I'll get to it.
No,
I'll get to
tell it. Take it.
No. Let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
If you said to me, Lex Luthor gets his hands on some of Superman's DNA and creates a villain with composite powers as Superman, I am fucking all in on that. I absolutely agree with you. I've said before, like even Cyborg, it's a cool fucking story there. There's a very cool story there. That part I absolutely agree with you. Very cool story. Do you want to give? We talked about the budget.
Wait, do you not? But do you? Well, let me ask you one more question. And then yes, I'm sorry, but what about the idea? Because the main impetus of the story is not Nuclear Man. It's that Superman wants to get rid of all nukes, and Luthor wants to stop it. That's the story, which I think is very good. I really do. It's an intriguing story. Superman wants to get rid of all the nuclear weapons, and of course, his evil nemesis, Lex Luthor, can't have that, so he creates this being that's supposed to be even stronger than Superman to try to stop it. That's a great plot right there. No? And the idea that one of the basic premises about Superman is that he's not supposed to interfere with humans, and they really have to take care of themselves. He's there to sort of try to protect people from outside forces, but people really need to, fend for themselves. And this is a situation where he has to play with the idea of interfering. I think that's all very compelling stuff on paper.
Yeah, I think the idea, though, that I was more intrigued by, hey, he gets his hands on Superman's DNA and creates a super villain that has composite, at least it seems like similar powers to Superman. Like if they went like a Bizarro route, I would have been much more in on this in its application. I guess I don't mind it. I think the whole, I won't even say political or like, let's say like the ethical argument weighs down the movie a little bit, like he's doing like UN and stuff like that. I hate to say it, and maybe it's me. I feel like even back in the day, I would have been like, just fucking get me to the action. Like, that's what I want to. That's what I want to see.
Well, that's that's I think what happened. They realized that that's what people wanted to see, so they just threw in that Nuclear Man. I think Christopher Reeve's story. I don't think it involved that kind of thing. I think it was all supposed to be about his fight to get rid of nuclear weapons, and the real villains were supposed to be like the governments of the world trying to stop that. But obviously, the guys at Canon are like, no, we need the bad guy. Who's the bad guy? We need the bad guy.
I mean,
so
I understand the actual physical story, maybe that Reeve. Are you telling me though, you're going to be all in on a Superman movie where he's fighting you like governments? No,
yes, for one reason. Yes, for one reason. For what? No. All right, for one reason. Christopher Reeve as Superman. That's all. That's all. That's all I would have ever needed to get me into the door.
But I mean, it's you go to it. Even back in the day when I went to a Superman movie, I'm only speaking for me. I want to see a heady plot. Don't get me wrong, which is not delivered here, but I want to see, at the time, cool, even for the 80s, cool special effects, Superman fighting supervillains. I want to see all that. That's what I loved so much about Superman 2. Oh, he's fighting 3 Supermans, and he's got to use some of his brain to outwit him? Oh, Phantom Zone? Like, I was like, whoa!
Right, but if you remember, sorry to interrupt, but if you remember, what is the MacGuffin of that story there? What is the thing that propels everything forward? When he decides to give up his powers to live as a human being. And that creates the nightmare scenario where it's like we're sitting there like, Superman, don't! There are these bad people there. What the fuck are you doing? Like, that brings you in. So the first 2 Supermans dealt with a lot of the inner turmoil that Superman / Clark Kent goes through. Superman 3 lost all of that. And Superman 4 tries to bring it back, but in a very half-assed and low-budgeted way. That's what I mean by his struggle to decide what he should and shouldn't do. To me, that's the heart of Superman's Christopher Reeve. And his idea for Superman 4 does have that element. Unfortunately, it was overshadowed by a lot of other nonsense.
Is this a podcast or an NYU lecture on a
It's a TED
film
Talk.
series?
It's a TED Talk on Superman.
Therefore, Superman on an
Yes. To what extent?
Hey, listen. No, I do understand what you're saying there. Groo, we talked about the budget, so we won't go through that. But how about the box office?
I know I know the budget. I'm not sure of the box office, so I'm pretty sure the budget.
Fuck the budget. Don't worry about it. We already talked about it.
Well, no, it matters because we got to see if the movie made money or not. It did.
I understand. I already said they cut the budget from 36 to 17 million.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure the movie made about $40 million.
Do you want to run this podcast?
No,
Here,
didn't you just ask me? Take a gander at the budget.
I want to know. I had a great line set up, and he interrupted me. Did Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, did it have a quest for money?
No. Well, yes, it did, because it was profitable. I think it made about. I think it made about between 40 and 50 million.
I have. Can I speak now?
Yeah.
Superman expert.
Yes.
I have it grossed 30.2 million worldwide box office, 15.6 coming from U.S. and Canada, 14.6 coming from international markets. Superman 4 was the worst performing Superman film starring Christopher Reeve at the box office. The film's poor performance at the box office, they're saying here, led Superman to go dormant for 19 years and blah, 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 2006 reboot. There you go.
Yeah. So basically what happened here was they made money. The Canon guys are probably happy with that. They pretty much almost doubled their budget. So to them, that's a hit. To fans and everybody else on planet Earth, it's not, because we want it to be a good movie. They don't give a shit if it's a good movie. They're Canon. Look at their movies. Their movies are made to finance the next one. So they took the 20 million or so that they made from this, and they made probably 5 more Red Sonjas, or whatever they do. That's what they do. So the big mistake here was the Salkinds selling to the wrong people. That's what they did. They sold what should have been treated as a precious, a real precious entity, and they sold it to people who basically, kind of neutered it. That's how I see that. And so to guys like us and to guys like Reeve and all the people who were involved who really care about it, to them it's a failure. To these guys, it's a hit. Yeah.
That I will agree with you.
Yeah.
They should not have let it get into
the wrong
Canon's hands.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do some quick movie fun facts?
Yes. We got fun facts. Do we? Oh man, we should have had that call.
No.
We should have had that call yesterday. Hold on.
I told you Pryor.
All right, here we go. Fun facts.
I told you Richard Pryor. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me know.
We're so great. All right, go ahead.
All right, movie fun facts. This is a train wreck.
Hey, it's a train wreck just like Superman 4, right?
I mean, some of these things are kind of really silly, but I got about 6 of them real quick. In Superman 1978 and Superman 2 1980, Lex Luthor wears a wig because he's completely bald. In this film, Lex is balding as Gene Hackman was in real life. They went with Gene Hackman's real hair.
Yeah, and I remember in the first one, he refused to shave his head. So that was his real hair, and at the end of the movie, when he takes off a wig, he's wearing a bald cap. But yeah, in this one, he wasn't willing to go the distance on that.
This one I remember watching. I was completely blown away. At about 1 hour and 20 minutes, Lacey Warfield is able to survive out in space without a spacesuit.
Genius.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
I was watching that. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, how does that happen?
Well, doesn't Superman bring Lois into space like in the first one when they're flying? It's almost like a thing where if you're with the person, you're safe.
What, he gives off an aura of oxygen and gases?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Superman did some physics-defying things with Lois as well. So I forgive that a little bit. It's just
no.
If there was a precedent set, then you got to forgive it. It's just the reason we don't like it here is because it looks ridiculous. It looks so bad.
Here's my homework. I want you to find the clip and show it on the next podcast to me.
Okay, I'm not saying it definitely happened.
No,
I'm saying
I'm doing this in fun, but I want to see if you can show me in the first movie if it indeed happened. Then I'll say fine. But otherwise, I'm watching that and I'm going, oh my gosh, that is ridiculous.
Okay, I'm gonna after this podcast, that's my homework for the day.
I mean, this is kind of silly, but this kind of interests me a little bit. Nuclear Man was created using genetic material harvested from one of Superman's hairs. Lex Luthor gets this hair from a museum using bolt cutters, which, by the way, was so stupid.
Yes.
He cuts Superman's hair. Should it not be guarded by like a military envoy? He cuts the top and the bottom off to get the part in the middle. He takes only the middle part with him. Genetic material is only found in the follicle of hair, which would be at one end.
I don't care about all that. Well, here's what I care about. Who cares what Superman's hair is made of? But there's your extra 20 minutes right there. That a little subplot showing how Luthor has to go about getting Superman's DNA.
Agreed.
That raises stakes. Instead, they decided, you know what, it will take 5 minutes, we just cut it off, and there we go. It was like, let's put some effort into this, and they just decided not to. There's a story there, and it could have been cool, but they elected, go in a different direction.
What if he used Lacey Warfield to entice Superman romantically, and then got like a stained shirt or something, did like a Lewinsky.
There you go. Go. You send it right to the lab, and you send it to Quest, and they send it back within 2 to 3 days.
You got Doomsday. There you go.
There you go. Exactly. There's so many different ways they could have gone with it, and they just probably said, what's the cheapest way we could do this? And they found it.
I mean, do you care that, apes cannot fly in space because there's no oxygen?
Yeah, but I think those rules were broken by some of the other movies as well. So that's, of all the things to bother me about Superman 4, that ain't it.
I'm doing comedy here.
You asked me if I cared.
All right, I did do that. I do apologize. That's true. At or around 35 minutes, Superman swings. This is also really ridiculous. Superman swings all of the nuclear missiles towards the sun. He waits several seconds until we see impact on the sun's surface. This is impossible, Andrew, with physics. I did this experiment in my basement. Even if he could throw the collection of missiles very near the speed of light, the sun is about 92.9 million miles away, 92.9 K-Rock, so that we would have an on-screen waiting time of at least 8.5 minutes from the time he would throw them until they would hit the sun.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm cutting this. I'm cutting this.
Yeah, but what would have been here? Let's be constructive. What would have been a better way to depict Superman getting rid of the nukes? I have an idea.
I just thought the whole visual, him in a big knapsack throwing all the missiles,
ridiculous.
Was kind of silly.
But the movie makers are probably sitting there like, this would look so cool. Big explosion, big loud, big noise. I thought it would have been better if they somehow had Superman be able to denuclearize everything, with his powers, use his powers instead of doing something that looks, like you said, like throwing a knapsack of nuclear weapons into a fire pit. It's ridiculous. Forget the physics part of it. It just looks stupid.
What impact would have that had on the sun? I mean, could that have fucked up the sun? I don't know.
If we're asking that kind of question about this movie, then I think we've gone too far.
All right, we've gone too far. All right, Andrew, what was the critical response for Superman 4: The Quest for Peace? I'm going to assume you have not looked at Rotten Tomatoes.
I have not.
Do you want to give is it from 0 to 100? What was the tomato meter, the critical, based on 52 reviews, what was the score that Superman 4: The Quest for Peace garnered?
All right. I think it's impossible for any legitimate critic to give this a positive review. I'm not saying as a fan. I'm saying as a critic. And yet, somehow, very few movies end up with a 0. So I'm going to give Superman 4 the benefit of the doubt and say that it got maybe between 8 and 10% on 52 reviews, you say?
52 critical reviews.
So that would mean about 4 or 5 positives. Yeah, I would say about between like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, somewhere around there.
Do you swear with the Nothing Worthwhile oath that you have not looked at Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah,
for
I
this
swear
segment?
I can't even get to Rotten Tomatoes anymore without disabling blockers and shit. I can't read anything anymore.
Okay, so you are absolutely correct. It got a 10% score on the tomato meter.
That makes sense.
What about the popcorn meter of audience participants on 0 to 100? What did they give based on 50,000 plus audience reviews or surveys? What did the popcorn meter score? What is the popcorn meter score for Soups 4?
This is a percentage?
Yes, same thing.
All right.
0 to 100.
Fans love to hate this movie. So I'm going to say it's going to be even lower than the critics. I'm going to say like 5%. People hate this movie.
Usually the popcorn meter is a little bit higher, so they gave it a 16% score on. Still nothing great. Andrew David Kerr of the Chicago Tribune says, the impoverishment here is not merely of means, but of spirit. Come on, don't give me something.
What are you reviewing? Schindler's List? Come on.
Yeah, well, don't be so fucking obtuse. Michael Wilmington of the LA Times says the overall effect of a story atomized and dying before our very eyes, collapsing into smash pulp, grounding it into a big budget Kryptonian ash. Desmond Ryan, Philadelphia Inquirer, said, of course, Superman saves the world, but the real news is there still is some life left in the series. Jay Boyar of the Orlando Sentinel says Superman 4 is cinematic kryptonite. Not only could it kill the Superman series, it might leave filmgoers feeling weak. And Variety says of the following of Superman 4, the earlier films in the series were far from perfect, but at their best, they had some flair and agreeable humor, qualities that this one sorely lacks. So, Andrew, do you want to take it first on a scale of 0 to 4 nuclear fingernails? What do you give Superman 4, The Quest for Peace?
All right, this is actually a very tough one for me because I know, that this is one of the worst movies ever made. It really is. It's a fact. Problem is, I enjoy watching it. Like, no. I've seen the movie many times. I didn't see it in the theater. We were at camp. By the time we got home, it went straight to 8-track.
There's Andrew's prerequisite 7 camp mentions every podcast.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, but so I only saw it on TV for the first time, and I remember being excited to see it, and not even being disappointed, just being like, that was weird. But over the years, I've seen it several times, and it's like a movie that I love to hate. But I also like to look at it and see how they could have done this better and that better, like from that perspective. So I enjoy looking at it almost in the same way I enjoy... Actually, no, not in the same way. I really don't like watching Rocky V. But I enjoy watching this movie for whatever reason. I think it's 2 reasons. Christopher Reeve is always good and always great as Superman, no matter what. He gives it his all, and Gene Hackman gives it his all. And watching them two do their stuff makes it worth it. But at the same time, I cannot give the movie any credit for the bastardization of the franchise and the character. So I'm going to give it 0 out of 4 nuclear fingernails. They really did this one dirty. And, I'm going to say this caused Christopher Reeve's accident. That's a terrible thing to say, but they did make good on their promise though, and they did let him do that movie that he wanted to do, Street Smart, which wasn't bad.
Yes.
Not a bad movie. You'd probably like it. Morgan Freeman was nominated for an Oscar for that movie. But yeah, this is an absolute like train wreck of, like, if you want to teach a film class how not to make a movie or how to ruin a good enterprise, you show them Superman 4. So 0.
I feel like Superman after I've been ripped by those nuclear fingernails. I feel weak, depleted. All right.
Yeah, and since when does that make sense? Like, oh my God, his cape, now he's all of a sudden he's 97,000 years old. Remember the part in the movie where Lois has to bring him his cape? Since when was it established that the cape makes him younger? Like, it was like they were throwing shit against the wall. So stupid.
I didn't mind that one so much.
And her performance was horrible. She was.
See, I disagree.
She was a phenomenal Lois Lane in 1 and 2. And here she is it's like she's starting her nervous breakdown, which is what happened to Margot Kidder. She's just way off. Way off.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Are you done? I mean, do you want any more time?
I'm passionate about it.
Well,
I begged you to do this one.
Look, as I said earlier, if you told me there was a movie in which a bad guy uses Superman's DNA to create a composite villain with comparable superpowers, I am in. What's bad about this movie is, unfortunately, this is not it. Low budget, low expectations. I didn't see it. I really thought Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder were the only two that were giving it a spirited performance. Gene Hackman is kind of hacky. It's like the Lex Luthor evil genius is gone. It's like a full, almost comedic sprint. And I'm sorry, but what the hell is John Cryer doing in this movie? He plays the same Southern Cal Valley boy that he played in all the teen romantic films. It makes no sense to me.
I know exactly why.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Because from what I understand, they wanted Ned Beatty to come back as Otis, his little, Luther's, lackey. But he was like, hell no, this sucks. And the producers were like, oh, this guy from 16 Candles, he's good, the ducky. Oh, we get him. The kids will come and see him. They love him. That's exactly what happened. They got John Cryer. And Cryer's like, Superman? Fuck yeah. That's how he ended up in there.
And I'm not saying no, but, Andy, I'm giving my review. Your time to interject will be after I'm done with my review. But you mentioned it earlier, and I agree with you. To me, this is a very sad way for a story franchise to end in all places, canon films. Shame on you, DC or the Salkinds or whoever for, selling out. I'll give it one nuclear fingernail. It's I mean, I don't know. Does it even deserve one? Maybe not.
No, I didn't give it one.
I don't, my reaction is, my reaction to Andy is different though. I mean, it was fun. It was interesting for me to watch it because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And I remember vaguely some of the parts as a kid, when I watched it again. But yeah, I see it as like kind of sad. I don't see that quite as much as Rocky V, and I don't want to get into a Rocky V comparison because I don't think it's anywhere close, actually. Superman 4, this is a death knell for this. I mean, you're not moving anywhere further, from here. And I kind of felt sad. Like, really, Christopher Reeve is, he's an actor's actor, and I just felt sad watching it that this is how it kind of ended for this run.
Right. Well, the only thing I'll say, and I agree with everything you said, the only thing I'll say about the Rocky comparison is that this is just
Don't do it.
This is no. Trust me. Superman 4 is almost, it might be one of those so bad it's good. Meaning like it's so much, to me it's fun to watch it be so bad. Rocky 5 is not fun to watch all the mistakes that they made literally one by one. Maybe that's because I'm a little bit more personally connected to the Rocky franchise, but yeah, that's why. But that's my thought. So you give it 1, I give it 0. That surprises me because I am a huge Superman fan.
Yeah, they get. If you take the mean, it's a half fingernail.
There's only one other. There's only one other legacy. There's only one other movie that I've ever given a 0 to. I think.
What would that be?
Beverly Hills Cop 3.
I don't subscribe to that. It's so bad, it's good. I'll acknowledge that there's maybe a kitschy charm to bad movies, But bad movies are bad movies. They're not.
Does this have that kitschy charm to you?
No.
All right, it does. I think it does to me. Maybe
no,
that's
because you've also mentioned because of expectations. So you're coming into it. I mean, obviously, but you don't know. Most film goers at the time, they're not savvy on canon, sort of a schlock house sort of deal. Maybe back then. Now we are, but if you're walking into a Christopher Reeve Superman movie, you're expecting. I mean, obviously, I agree with you with 3, but you're expecting that they're gonna deliver on some level, and they don't deliver at all here, and it looks so cheap and just the flying scenes clearly. I mean, some of them, because I think the budget was cut in mid-production, so there's 1 or 2 scenes that look not bad, look kind of tight, and then there's some scenes you're like, oh my gosh, this looks terrible.
But I mean,
even for back in the day.
And the irony is that the first Superman movie perfected the art of flying on screen, and the fourth movie totally destroys it because I mean, number one, they keep using the same shot of him flying into the screen over and over again. Looks like a black and white Superman flying in a cut. Like, it's just, oh man. And how they could sit there and look at this and say, oh, people are going to love this. That's why Reeve was smart. And he told the kid, he's like, this is going to suck.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, let's move on. You want to tell everybody one thing you're watching this week?
Yes. And this is pure coincidence because this is what I was going to talk about a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So say it. What am I watching? Are you talking about
the Christopher Reeve documentary?
No. I saw. I did see that. Very good. But I am watching a TV show called Superman and Lois, which is on the CW, which just ended its 4th season and the series. I watched the first 2 seasons, and I thought they were excellent. There was a lot of time between the 2nd and 3rd season because I think it switched networks or something happened, or maybe it was the writer's strike or something. So I kind of lost track of it. But I'm starting to watch the 3rd season now, and from what I understand, the final season was spectacular. And it is to me the best version of Superman outside of the Reeve versions. So Superman and Lois, I highly recommend it. I think you would really enjoy it. It does a lot of those things that you were talking about.
I have watched some of it.
Oh, you have? Oh, okay.
And I would agree with that assessment. And I will probably watch season 4.
Oh, good. So you're further along in that than me. If you're up to season 3.
I haven't watched it all. I haven't watched it linear. So I can't say that. But what I've seen, the acting is great, and they put a lot of money into this.
Yep.
So it has a movie feel. The special effects are legit for a television production. Absolutely legit.
So what are you watching?
Actually, I'm going to give you a listening recommendation.
Hey, now.
And I was, Linkin Park is back. They had their comeback album From Zero, and it dropped in November, but it came up on my Apple Music. It's the band's 8th studio album. And if you know anything about Linkin Park, their lead singer Chester Bennington died in 2017. So they were dormant, and I listened to them a lot in the early 2000s when I was definitely a lot more open musically. They did that whole hip hop metal kind of thing going on, and they came back with a new vocalist named Emily Armstrong. She's from a band named Dead Sarah. I don't know anything about them. A new producer, a new drummer, and if you like that whole metal hip hop thing, give it a listen because they, absolutely deliver on. I listen to that kind of stuff when I'm working out or I'm running, and so. From Zero, Linkin Park. I'm not a big fan of new music, but I enjoy Linkin Park, so I was glad to see them back.
Hey, when I'm done listening to this new Kendrick Lamar album, I'll get right on it.
All right. All right, Andy. For our next episode of Van Dammit, Groo and I will head back to 1994. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia, it's Streetfighter, and KDG from the Retromade Podcast most likely will be joining us. Prime, sexy, hairless, baby-oiled Jean-Claude Van Damme. What do you think?
I thought you were no, I can't say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I've never seen Streetfighter, so I'm looking forward to it. Most of the other ones I've seen before, so it's just most of them remind me how bad they were. But this will be virgin territory, so I'm looking forward to it. And look, Raul Julia lent credibility to anything that he was in, when he was alive. So, and this has source material. So it's got a lot going for it. I'm purposely not going to look at any kind of like summary or review of it because I don't want to know how it was received by anybody. I want to go in completely fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm itching for a good one. I mean, I don't need a 4-star like The Godfather. I want a good, fun, enjoyable. It's been a while since I've left a Jean-Claude movie with a good positive feeling, so I'm hoping Street Fighter delivers.
Well, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. When are we doing that? Next Saturday?
Maybe next weekend?
Okay.
Next year.
Very good. Very good. Looking forward to having Katie on.
Yeah. Andrew, for our next episode of Nothing Worthwhile, let's go to it. Our guy, Sylvester Stallone, season 2, Tulsa King, wrapped up a while ago, but I think it'll be good for us to get our thoughts out there. I've watched all of season 2. I'm sure you have, and it'll be fun to talk about season 2, review it. What do we like? What do we didn't like? The ending and blah 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 blah. Andrew, season 2, Tulsa King.
Yes,
Stallone.
Can't wait. Love, obviously we love talking about our guy and we love talking about that show, for better or worse. So yeah, always love talking about Tulsa King. It really is just, it's a cool time to be us. Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. Look, sure. WWE is hotter than it's ever been. Stallone has a hit show. Billy Joel
and
Bruce. Hey, Bruce is still bringing it, so we're doing okay. We're hanging in there.
Yeah,
we're hanging
absolutely,
in there.
Absolutely. All right, Andrew, take us out of here.
All right. While Moody goes and gets some lunch so he doesn't fade away, we will invite you to join us next week when we return to the Van Dammit, The Last of the Action Heroes universe with our very special guest, Katie, as Moody and I discuss the 1994 classic JCVD's Street Fighter, based on the video game of the same name. It's been a pleasure for us to talk to you today about the atrocity that is Superman 4, the quest for peace. Our quest for a pleasant Saturday continues in just a few moments. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And we will get back to you again before the holiday. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3. Nuclear man.
Money.
Where is the woman?
Pillow.
Where is the woman? I will hurt people.
Mark.